So unfortunately, we have some technical difficulties. I can't get the camera to work. I don't know what it is. I know my son was in here while I was, putting up some artwork on my walls inside of the studio, and he was banging on the keyboard. He was pretending he was banging on the keyboard like he was typing. And since then, I haven't been able to get the camera to work. So the camera's working fine. The peripherals are working fine. We just have an issue with the software. So some setting was changed. I'm gonna have to come in here, fiddle with it, and get it to work. But we move on. So you're gonna have the Strategic Eye Show without video. Isn't that crazy? We've never done a video with only audio. But I've got a very interesting show for you guys. You're gonna see some very disturbing images. I apologize for that, but it must be said. There is a monster on the loose. I'm going to bring this guy in here. Not this beautiful woman who has been scarred, but there's a monster on the loose. I'm going to bring his picture up here. I'm going to bring his picture up here so we can take a look at this douchebag, this a-hole. I guess I don't have his picture. I'm going to play it for you. So I'll play it for you, and then you guys will definitely have access to the picture. We got Tyler Hackner in the building. What's going on? I know it's an early morning pop-up Strategic Eyes live with no video because the video is not working, but we're going to power through this because, yeah, hey, when you're doing live shows, technical difficulties are part of it. So this young lady, Irene Guzman, got into a relationship with a gentleman by the name of, what's this guy's name? Rakim Figueroa. And this man destroyed this woman's face. But I'm going to let you guys listen to this.
These are the ugly signs when love turns violent. 39-year-old Irene Guzman is scarred for life after needing 300 stitches. She spoke with us by phone from her hospital bed.
We grew up together. I would never have expected him to do this to me.
But she says he did do the unthinkable. Instead of loving her, she says Rakim Figueroa tried to kill her. Figueroa is accused of using...
Now, this guy, I did some research on this guy. This guy's got a terrible record, man. Terrible. That doesn't mean she deserves anything that happened to her. But there's lessons that we can learn from this. There's lessons that we keep disregarding in this society. And, I remember when we first started talking about domestic violence on this channel, and we had a survivor of domestic violence from a very heinous killing that occurred in the Bronx, New York. And big shout out to that young woman who came on the show and gave us her insight and her experiences dealing with this guy. But one thing that she told me that really opened my eyes, it's something I knew, but sometimes you know things, but you don't accept them until somebody really breaks it down for you, till you get that lived experience behind those words. And what that young lady told me was a lot of these women grow up in these environments and they don't think that they deserve the guy that has a good job. They get normalized to dealing with guys that have criminal records and the machismo and the gangster mentality, etc. Another thing she threw at me is that many of these communities are very dangerous. As we know, these inner city ghettos are very dangerous. People die there. The statistics clearly show it. And so naturally, it's a natural human desire to feel safe. So a lot of time these women will get with men who they perceive to be big, bad, and dangerous for protection. So if he's big, bad, and dangerous to everybody else, but he's not to you, then he's okay because he treats you good, but he will protect you, or rather people won't even think about messing with you because they know that you're associated with him. And I think it's very interesting because nobody ever really talks about that mentality, that thought process when we talk about women getting into these domestic violence relationships with people that the rest of us who aren't a part of this lifestyle, aren't a part of growing up in an inner city, or anymore rather, or we'll look at this from the outside, we'll say, well, why would you mess with this guy in the first place? But it was so enlightening from that young woman as to why women find themselves in that situation. Some women find themselves into that situation. Let's keep letting it play out.
A chair to smash his way into Cava on Adams Street in downtown Brooklyn, where Guzman works as the general manager, breaking the window to get in. Once inside, he allegedly stabbed and slashed Guzman with a kitchen knife.
And he just started attacking her from the back. She was running. All her wounds are like in the back, all like stab wounds and punctures from the back, besides what you see where he actually split.
Now think about how traumatizing that is for the people who are just working there. And mind you, she had a good job. She's not a manager or shift manager. She's a general manager of Kava, which is like one of the most popular kind of Middle Eastern, no, not Middle Eastern, Mediterranean salad spots. Very, very, very popular in New York City. Very expensive. I mean, for like a run in and a grab and go type situation, you get a salad, it usually will cost you like around $15. And if you go to Kava anytime during 12, 1 o'clock, the line goes outside the door all day, every single day. Line out the door for lunchtime because it's very healthy. It's very trendy. It is what it is. But she's a general manager. General managers control multiple stores. General managers for every fast food restaurant, whatever you want to call it, pharmacy, McDonald's, Walmart, it doesn't matter. A general manager always makes six figures or damn near close to it. So if she wasn't making six figures, she had to be making at least $80,000 or $90,000, but most likely she was making $100,000 and change. So she actually had a good job. She actually had a nice career laid out for her working for this company. But let's keep going. But I don't want to take light of where I started with this conversation. What about the trauma for all the other people who had to witness this? Very, very, very sad. Let's keep going.
With her lip in half.
Guzman's mother tells Pix 11 News this is not the first time Figueroa brutally attacked her daughter. The first time was about a month ago as she walked out of a T-Mobile store on Fulton Street.
She walked out of the T-Mobile. She had the bag in her hand. She thought she was being robbed and a person just pushed her. She didn't even realize that she was slashed across her face, and he was there waiting for her.
It's so bad, this mom fears for her own life, so we are not showing her face on TV. She says her daughter did the right thing. She tried to get away. When she noticed Figueroa's behavior, she broke it off.
This is the result. And yes, she has known him all of her life.
But
All right, now check this out. First of all, Guzman's a very pretty lady. This woman actually did it the right way. She dated him. She knew him all her life, and unfortunately, I would have to assume she knew that this guy is a criminal, straight up, right? But they got together finally later on in life. Like she's in her 30s, and so is he. They're almost 40, both of them. All right, they're almost 40. And I guess she assumed like people change or whatever. But she did it the right way because she just dated him for less than 6 months. It was 5 months of dating this guy that she realized something's wrong with this guy. I'm not going to deal with this guy anymore. 5 months, ladies and gentlemen. 5 months is when she said, enough is enough. I'm going to leave this guy. And he got psycho, murderously psycho. She did it the right way. There's a lot of women, unfortunately, who'll stay in these relationships for years. For years. Ms. Guzman, she left as quickly as she saw that this man was violent. Let's keep going.
Guzman and Figueroa only started dating a few months ago. This mother says her daughter had reservations about the relationship, but never thought it would come to this. Figueroa apparently made threatening statements during another incident inside Guzman's apartment.
It's you I want. And when I go, you go. That's what he said to her.
While Guzman's mother is shaking, speaking out for her daughter, she urges other women and men to look out for warning signs.
When your instincts are telling you that something is not right, pay attention.
She believes Figueroa is on a deadly mission, and her daughter is his target.
All right, so this guy is on a lam. He has not been caught, ladies and gentlemen. He is on a lam. Look at her face, man. He got the lip. He even got by the eye. This woman could have been blind. Thank God. Thank God she still has her sight. Look at what he did. And remember, then there's another slash on her side, and then she's got slashes on her back, etc. This dude is a monster. Absolute monster. Let's keep going.
He's sick. He's an animal. And I don't think he will rest until he's able to get just what he wants.
If you could say anything to him,
God,
what would you say?
not only have you ruined my daughter's life, but you ruined the lives of those who love her as well. Turn yourself in. Turn yourself in.
Guzman's
Yeah, you got to check out body language, people. Look how stressed this woman is. This is not acting here. This is stress. How she's holding her hands and pulsing it. Turn yourself in. This is anguish, heartfelt anguish. She is afraid for her daughter's life. They don't know where he's at. He could be lurking outside the hospital right now. He could be lurking outside of mommy's house. That's why she doesn't want to show her face. This guy is armed, dangerous, and on the lam, and he wants to take Guzman with him to the grave. I guarantee you, if he was to take this woman's life, the next life that he would take would be his own. He is a psychopathic piece of trash, and we need to find this guy. We need to find this guy. If you're in a tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, look for this man. There's also a possibility he might have fled back to the Dominican Republic, which a lot of guys do from the Dominican Republic who come up to America and commit crimes. They usually go back to DR. But I think he's still local because he is obsessive. I have a feeling he is still absolutely local, waiting to get this woman. The police have to catch him. Let's keep going.
Turn yourself in. Turn yourself in.
Guzman's mother also says she feels helpless after what happened to her daughter. She set up a GoFundMe page to help with medical needs. You can find that on our website. In the meantime, if you have any information on Figueroa's whereabouts, call Crime Stoppers. The number's right there. It's 800-577-TIPS. Nicole Johnson, Pix 11 News.
All right, so we got 800-577-TIPS. On the bottom of the screen, you're going to see the domestic violence awareness line scrolling on the bottom of the screen. If you are in an abusive relationship, if you feel as though there's no way out, if you feel like you need assistance to get out of that relationship, please call 800-799-SAFE, which is the domestic violence awareness line. This is a national hotline. Doesn't matter where you are in the United States of America. Even if you're not in the continental United States of America, you could be in America Samoa, you could be in Puerto Rico, you could be Hawaii, which is a state, of course. You could be anywhere. Call that number. They'll get you help. They'll connect you with services. They'll connect you with safe houses. They'll connect you with domestic violence homes where you can go and they'll hide your identity, etc. I'll tell you an interesting story about domestic violence homes. One time, when I was in state corrections as an investigator, we were doing surveillance on a guy's apartment, which was right across the street from a domestic violence home. We didn't know that the building we were parked in front of was a domestic violence home. So here I am, black guy, with a older Puerto Rican investigator, and we're doing the surveillance. And we keep seeing this lady coming out looking at us funny. And we're like, what are you looking at? So then the lady comes out and she's like, hey, can you guys move your car? And I'm like, why are we moving our car for? This is a legal parking spot. She was like, who are you? I'm like, why are you asking who we are? We're this is a public street and we're parked here because we don't want to blow our cover, but we're not undercover. We're just, incognito in the surveillance or whatever. She's like, well, the ladies in the building feel uncomfortable with you here. I was like, who are the ladies in what building? What is that building? And why are you talking to us? She's like, it's a domestic violence shelter, and some of them think you might be somebody's boyfriend. I'm like, first of all, I showed my badge, and I'm like, listen, we're state investigators and we're working, okay? And she's like, oh, okay, we didn't know. I was like, but this is a public street. Like, what gives you the authority to come out and tell anybody anything? Well, whatever. The bottom line is that I had no idea that this building that I was in front of was a domestic violence shelter. And that lady was pretty dumb because if I was an abusive boyfriend and I wasn't sure where my ex-girlfriend was, now I know that that's a domestic violence shelter. Maybe I shouldn't have told that story because I don't want to dissuade anybody from calling that number. This was many, many years ago. And this was just one shelter that was in the Bronx, New York. All right. But call the number, They'll get you the help. And she did tell me that it was a domestic violence shelter after I had identified myself as a peace officer. When I worked for the state as an investigator, I wasn't a police officer. I was a what's called a peace officer, because with corrections, they're peace officers in New York State. So call the number, get help if you need it. Don't stay in those type of relationships. Oftentimes, they give you money to move. They pay for your apartment. They do anything and everything to save your life. It's better than death. It's better than being treated like this Guzman woman. I want to go ahead and show you the GoFundMe, and then we're gonna do some digging into this guy, because I found a few things about him. Going way back, we in the way back way machine, found a few things about this douchebag. But check this out real quick. This is a GoFundMe. There are GoFundMes out there that oftentimes are just money grabs. This is not one of them. All right, this young lady is severely scarred. She's gonna. This is gonna go. She's a beautiful lady who's gonna now have this big old scar across her face, big old scar across the side of her face, scar over. These aren't scars that are gonna heal back without a very big line, and not only the lines but the holes for the sutures. I remember I cut my hand and had to get sutures, and I not only can you see the scar on my hand, which unfortunately we don't have video now, it's not working. Not only can you see the scar, but you also see the holes for the sutures. This is a deeply traumatizing scar that this woman is going to have. It's going to affect her. And unfortunately, we live in a very shallow society. So there are guys that's going to meet her and they're going to see the scars, and maybe she's lucky that those guys won't stick around, but there are guys that'll be like, no, I don't find those scars attractive, which is disgusting to say that, but it's a reality. It's a fact. And even if that's not something that would happen to her, she's still going to feel some way about it. She's going to have low self-esteem about these things. So please donate if you can to help her get the plastic surgery she needs to minimize these scars as much as possible. So I went digging for this guy and I found a few things. So this happened in 2001. So this guy was a Crips gang member when he was a young kid. And in this high school fight, Pacific High School is an alternative school that caters to mostly troubled teens and students who couldn't make the grade at regular schools. He had a fight with some Bloods and he got cut in his hands. Right? So then we fast forward. The guy's got federal cases that he had to deal with in the past pertaining to selling drugs. And he was trying to appeal some of those judgments. He was also arrested 2002, 2003, and he was given a very short sentence for assault 2. And assault 2 is when you attack somebody with a deadly weapon, but you don't kill them. So, if you hit somebody, like what he did to her, that's assault 2. What he did to her is assault 2. This is a news article says mother speaking out after her daughter was brutally attacked in Brooklyn, allegedly by her ex-boyfriend who is now on the run. Police are searching for Rakim Figueroa, who allegedly broke into his ex-girlfriend's workplace and assaulted her with a knife. That's assault 2. So he did that in the past and he did it again. We grew up together. I would never have expected him to do this to me, said Irene Guzman. See, that's the key word. I never would have expected him to do this to me. But Irene knew that he was a violent guy. And that's a lesson that we have to learn for all you young ladies out there. You have to stay away from these violent men. It doesn't matter if they treat you good. It doesn't matter if they bring you flowers. It doesn't matter if they buy you clothes and then they tell you you're beautiful every day and they make sweet love to you. It doesn't matter. Violence, if you're a violent person, you can be violent with anyone. And these young ladies have to realize that. So Irene grew up with him. She knew he was in and out of prison. She knew that he had a violent streak and that he was a dangerous person. And she gambled. And unfortunately, turned out that gamble was not didn't work out in her favor, and it's unfortunate because we need to get this guy off the streets because he's gonna try and hurt her again. Um, Speaking from a hospital, Guzman said her ex-boyfriend stabbed and slashed her while she was at work. Figueroa went to Guzman's workplace on Tuesday and broke the window with a chair to get in and went on the attack. According to police, Guzman had to get 300 stitches to close multiple slashes on her face. 300 stitches. Jesus Christ. Guzman's mother said Figueroa attacked her daughter on more than one occasion, including outside of a T-Mobile store on Fulton Street. But Guzman apparently broke off the relationship, but Figueroa would not let her go. Now, he stabbed her during that attack in front of the T-Mobile store. I wish she would have reached out and got help at that time. She needed to get out at that moment, the first time he stabbed her, because he basically made it clear he was going to try and take her life. Let's keep going. He is sick. He's an animal, Guzman's mother said. Guzman is also a mother and grandmother. She had only started dating Figueroa a few months ago, but the two apparently had known each other over the years. So yeah, she's a woman that's definitely, she's almost 40. She's a mother and a grandmother, and unfortunately, this violence has no age limit. You could be in an abusive relationship when you're 15, 14, 12, 13. You could be abusive relationship when you're 60. It's very, very, very unfortunate. So once again, that's the GoFundMe, guys, and if you can, please assist this family. And remember, domestic violence can happen to anybody. So if you find yourself in a situation that you feel unsafe, call 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE. All right. Let's move on to the next topic. So I want to talk to you guys today about an ex-NYPD officer who lost his life fighting with a mentally ill man who lived in his community. And this story ties in very, very well with the topic that we discussed a couple weeks ago about homelessness and mental illness that exists in our society and how it is we ought to deal with it. And we had a very contentious debate about this in the comment section between people such as myself who believes that mentally ill people should be institutionalized, that we should not have homeless people sleeping on the streets, etc. And other people who felt, no, that's inhumane, it's not fair. We should not treat them like throwaways, which I don't think we should treat them like throwaways either. But this story shows the outcome of that. And when we finish talking about this, I'm also just tell you what I think about that situation that happened in San Francisco, where the art gallery owner sprayed the homeless woman with a hose. I'll tell you how I feel about that at the end of the story. So let's bring this in and let's get up to speed.
The victim's identity has been revealed as Nicholas Nelson. According to police sources, he was a police officer with the NYPD for 14 years and overnight found himself in the middle of a vicious crime scene as he was stabbed to death right in front of his home. Now, heavily armed police descended here on the neighborhood last night, and they found then a 37-year-old had been stabbed in the neck after a fight. The Staten Island street was shut down until just about the last hour as they continue looking for the assailant who attacked Nelson. Sources say the perpetrator has been initially described as an emotionally disturbed person who is known to the neighborhood. However, the suspect was dressed in all black, wearing a ski mask, and took off after the stabbing.
I guess he was just picking up the kids or dropping them off, and then he was coming back to the truck to make sure it was secured. And I hear scuffling upstairs. I hear running around upstairs because they live above us. And I went out to look, and I see a buffet of cops. And I look at the stoop, and there's just tons of blood. What is going on?
Well, as we mentioned, Nelson was an ex-NYPD detective. He left the force in 2021 and was most recently assigned to Brooklyn. He was dismissed from the NYPD after several bouts of legal trouble. But at this point, that is unrelated to this homicide investigation, according to police, as they continue searching for the suspect and the motive behind it.
Yeah, so a lot of people were making hay about this guy's record, but as they said in this video from the news, and I credit them with this because normally they're not that forgiving, that had nothing to do with this. So let me tell you guys what happened. Put this background here since you guys can't see my beautiful face because the camera's not working. Let me get something on the screen. So let me tell you what happened. Apparently, this homeless guy terrorizes, he's not homeless, but this guy in the community terrorizes the neighborhood. He's a gangster, but he's also mentally ill. So he does a lot of stupid ish. This former officer who got released from the force for doing dumb shit. It is what it is. Made his mistakes. It is what it is. Got removed from the force. This guy was taking his kids out of his car. That's when the mentally ill guy comes up and kicks the car door and then tries to get into the car on the side where the officer's son is at. So officer gets out and they have an altercation. They're not fighting, but they have a verbal argument. So the officer, there's a witness who's on the streets, and a witness who's a neighbor says, yo, just, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. You got your kids with you. Just go upstairs, take your kids upstairs. The former officer complies. Is like, yeah, you're right. And he goes upstairs with his kids. But this mentally ill thug stays outside of the former officer's house and is screaming and cursing and demanding he come outside to fight him. Unfortunately, rather than calling the cops, the former officer decides to come outside to confront this mentally ill gangster, and he gets stabbed in his neck. He gets stabbed in the neck and he's killed. The good thing is that they have apprehended this man, this killer. He is in jail, and he's most likely going to spend the rest of his life in prison. The thing is, this killer has people who love him. My question to you all is, would it have been better to have put him into an institution knowing that this man had issues? Medicate him, teach him how to medicate himself, teach him how to live a regimented life that helps keep his mental illness in check? Or is it better and more humane to allow this guy to live in that community, terrorize that community, and eventually kill a member of that community? Now, I watched multiple videos on this situation, and I have to tell you, the only bad thing anybody had to say about that former officer that died is when they talk about he was a former officer but got fired basically because he had legal issues. Nobody else had anything bad to say about this guy. Everybody in his community said he was a pillar of the community. Everybody in the community said he was an amazing person. He would dress up as Santa Claus and go to the local school and show love to the kids. He was a good person. He made his mistakes on the job, whatever it was. I don't know what he did. Being a cop was not for him. But he was a good dad. He was a good neighbor. He was a good member of the community. But unfortunately, because of the society we live in, we allow mentally ill gangsters to walk through our streets victimizing innocent people, because that's freedom now. That's just. That's the right thing to do until they kill one of us. And then what happens when they kill one of us? Just like that fool that killed that white couple inside of their garage and tried to eat the father's face, you get off. I wonder, will this psychopath get off since it's documented that he's mentally ill? I wonder if he'll get off. It's unfortunate. So that brings us to the last video, and then we'll end this. I just picked anything out, so let me just play this first one. Let's see.
The man seen in this now viral video spraying down a homeless woman with a hose is now explaining why he did what he did.
Yeah, ABC 7 News anchor Dion Lim is the only television journalist to speak with the art gallery owner. A lot of people are appalled by what he did.
Edson Garcia, co-owner of Brioche Cafe, was on his way to deliver a catering order Monday morning when something disturbing caught his eye.
I turn to the side and I see the guy pouring water to the lady.
Garcia, who has seen the homeless woman in the North Beach neighborhood before, has never found her to be belligerent and says, given the weather conditions, found the man's actions especially cruel.
It wasn't cold, it was raining. She was screaming, she said, okay, I move. It's not fair to see people doing stuff like that.
I tracked down the man with the hose, art gallery owner Collier Gwynn, who admitted to his actions.
I totally understand what an awful thing that is to do. But I also understand what an awful thing it is to leave her on the streets.
Gwynn says there were repeated attempts to help the woman over the past couple weeks.
I'm going to pause it right here. We're going to play it out, though. What he did was wrong, morally wrong. But I understand why he did it, all right? That coffee shop owner said he never seen her be belligerent, but other people have said they've seen her belligerent, they've seen her act violent, they've seen her refuse to leave that area. Block this, sorry. The point that this man made about society failing her just as much as he failed her is an amazing point. Is it humane to allow this woman to sleep on the street? And is it fair to the business owners and the homeowners and the renters who live in this community that they should be able to come out their house to go work, to go eat, to go live, and have to step over this woman, have to step over feces, have to smell piss outside their doors, have to see garbage and used food and tampons outside of their door. These are the things that we see every single day when we leave homelessness unchecked in our communities. That street is her apartment. It's her garbage can. It's her toilet. It's a receptacle. Where do you think these things go? Do you think these homeless folks are clean people and say, oh, let me pick up my garbage and put it in the garbage? No. When they have to piss, when they have to poop, they do it right there on the street. When they feel like they want to have sex, they have sex right there on the streets in front of children, in front of elderly people. They don't care. How is this humane and how is it fair? We have decided we want to live in an orderly society. We've decided that there are rules to living in this society. If you don't want to play by the rules, if you're incapable of conforming to the most basic aspect of our society, then we need to put you in a place where you can be happy. And that's not fair for you to be in front of somebody's property when these people pay thousands of dollars a month to live there. And I don't care what any freaking crazy purple-haired liberal says. I don't want to walk outside my house and see some lady pooping on my steps. If I see that, I'm going to hose your ass down too. Let's keep going.
We called the police. There must be 25 calls on record. It's 2 days in a homeless shelter. It's 2 days in jail. And then they drop them right back on the street.
Monday, when Gwynn says she refused to move and resisted help, he sprayed her down as a last resort.
Don't get me wrong. Like I said, morally, it's wrong. Morally, it's wrong. Morally, it's wrong. But I am tapping into the frustration of this man. I'm tapping into the frustration of this man trying to run a business. Think about an art gallery. So they're in front of a bar right now. That bar, he does not work for that bar. His gallery is right next to that bar. Think about an art gallery where you're selling paintings, you're selling art. He probably relies on 2 to 3 customers a month to pay his bills. Because those 2 to 3 customers will probably come in, they'll purchase, a piece of art maybe for $5,000, $10,000. But that's it. Not many people are going out there investing in art. It's a very niche market. If a customer is coming to his gallery and they see this woman spazzing out, tripping out on her drugs, shitting on this tree is dead because people probably pissed and shitted on it so much. You guys know that, right? If you pee on a tree enough and you poop on a tree enough, you kill the tree. Look how dead that tree is. Look at that. That's a dead tree because people probably pissed and shitted on it so goddamn much. If one or two of those patrons of that art gallery say, I'm not coming here because it's not safe, this man could go out of business. This man loses a lot of money. The art galleries aren't high volume places like a drugstore where you got thousands of people coming in at any given time, and if two people leave, no problem. Like I said, it's a niche market and every customer counts. And how's it fair to this man to run his own business, a low margin niche business, and every time he comes out his store and every time his customers come to his store, they have to see this woman who refuses help, refuses housing, refusing assistance, refusing money, refuses drug treatment, refuses mental health care, refuses everything. The only thing she wants to do is piss and shit outside his door. I'm sorry. I see the humanity in this man. What he did was wrong, but I get it. I get it. Let's keep going.
This woman is, it's a very, very sad situation. And she's very psychotic.
This isn't the first time we've seen methods to deter congregating. In 2015, St. Mary's Cathedral installed sprinklers as a way to prevent sleeping in.
Now think about it. This is a church, and churches are supposed to be safe havens for the poor, and even them are spraying the poor people. The church installed sprinklers so that when poor people try to sleep in front of the church, it sprays them. Let's keep going.
Doorways. In 2019, Clinton Park residents installed boulders to keep the homeless away, while multiple others in the area described the woman in this video.
So when the homeless people sit underneath the church, they get the same treatment that this man is giving this woman. But nobody says anything about that. How many homeless people didn't know that that sprinkler exists on the top of that church? Went and sat down and then got sprayed. How many homeless people got sprayed by the church, by the place of God, where Jesus says, bring me your sick, bring me your homeless, bring me your meek and your weak. Bring them to me. Bring me your drug addicts. Bring me all those folks. That's what Jesus said. They go to that church, they get sprayed the same way this guy's spraying this woman, but nobody's saying nothing about it. Why would the church resort to such measures? Why is this man resorting to such measures? Why are people on this street putting up boulders so that homeless people can't sleep on the street? Frustration. Wits end, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep going.
While multiple others in the area described the woman in this video as a nuisance. Homeless advocates say while service can be slow.
You heard that, right? So the dude who is the owner of the coffee shop that recorded this, he said, she's not a problem. She's good. There's no issues. But the news just reported multiple people in the community says she's a nuisance. How could somebody not be a nuisance when they're pissing and shitting on the street you're trying to walk on? Let's keep going.
2015, St. Mary's Cathedral installed sprinklers as a way to prevent sleeping in doorways. In 2019, Clinton Park residents installed boulders to keep the homeless away, while multiple others in the area described the woman in this video as a nuisance. Homeless advocates say while service can be slow at times, there are better ways to deal with these situations.
Consistently dialing 311, consistently trying to get looking up different mental health services that is in San Francisco. Some places.
So now, according to this activist lady, right, you have to call 311 a gajillion times to get help. That's number one. According to this activist lady, you now as the citizen, regular Joe, excuse me one second, guys. My apologies. As a regular Joe, you have to go and look up mental health services for this person. Isn't this the job of government? What are these people paying all these taxes for? It doesn't make any sense. But go ahead. Let's keep going.
Provide emergency services where they might be able to come out to a person and that's going through a crisis.
Gwynn says despite the threats and constant phone calls for interviews, he's not apologizing yet.
I find it hard to apologize when we've had no help on this situation.
As for Edson, he makes this call to those in the community.
You want to repeat people respect you, you have to respect the people, no?
In San Francisco,
Shut your ass up. Anyway, I gotta say this. All right, he should apologize to her because he's a human being and she's a human being, and he disrespected her on a personal level. But he should not. But I understand his stance for saying that the government is not doing enough. Now, even for people who say, "Oh, you know, small government, I don't like big government," these guys are paying for it. All right, they're paying for it. Their taxes are sky high. They are paying for it. All right. Like I spoke to my town and I was like, yo, I see the street sweeper coming through and they're picking up the leaves on the other side of the property, but I gotta call and get a landscaping dude and pay him $400 to come and clean up all the leaves on my property. I said, why don't y'all just make the street sweeper guy clean up all our leaves? Oh, well, we don't offer that. I said, well, we paying for. Look at all we paying in taxes. Maybe you guys should offer that. Maybe you should take all this tax money and go buy a leaf pickup machine and let us blow our leaves into the street on a special day. And you bring that machine over and you suck them leaves up. They're paying for it. Just like I'm paying for it. I want my services for my money. They are paying for it. San Francisco has some of the highest taxes in the nation. Those people deserve for a social worker that's making $150,000 to come down there and help that woman. It should not be the responsibility of this citizen to look up mental health institutions for this lady, which is what that activist lady was calling for. How ridiculous is that? So the professionals came and tried to offer this lady help, and she said no. But somehow, some way, this guy calling 311 a gajillion times and looking up mental health services from 311 for this lady is supposed to make a difference. This woman needs to be institutionalized. She needs to be institutionalized. Anyway, let's play out, and then we'll call it a day.
Francisco, Dion Lim, ABC 7 News.
And this incident happened outside Barbarossa Lounge next to the art gallery. A partner there says they want to make clear they are not affiliated with Gwynn, and they've been receiving threats as a result of the now viral video.
Oh, sorry. Now, this one I would say he was wrong for. That last piece right there definitely made me a little different, a little indifferent. Well, not indifferent, but just changed my point of view just a slight bit. He should have waited till she was in front of his store. Because if I'm the owner of that Barbarossa Lounge and you spraying this lady in front of my store with my logo in the back, I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to have words with you because that's messed up. Because now there are people who don't pay attention to the details who are going to associate the Barbarossa Lounge with this guy spraying this woman. Right now at that moment, even though his gallery was right next door, she was Barbarossa's problems. He should have waited till she shifted over to his right in front of his gallery, and then he could have did what he did. He still owe her apology, but it'd be much more understandable. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. I get it. What's the difference between 5 or 10 feet? I get it. She's still in the vicinity. Your patrons, your art patrons still have to walk past her. Art enthusiasts still have to walk past her. You have to walk past her. Maybe we're talking about the difference between 5 and 10 feet. I get it. But to me, it just makes more sense that she's in front of your business, particularly before you go ahead and do those things. We'll go to the comment section, say what up to you, awesome, amazing people. And then I'll call it a day. Let me just pull up this other screen. I really got to figure out this whole no video thing. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't hit the like button already. I know it's an early show. We haven't exactly gotten a lot of people in the show today, but I guess people will catch it on a rebound. So we got Tyler Hackney in the building. We got Mishka LeBear in the building. Chris Dry's in the building. Eric Smith is in the building. Said, I hope this loser turns itself in. Thanks for coming through, showing love. Gutter Girl's in the building. What up, Gutter Girl? Thanks for coming through, showing love to Strategic Guys show. Aki's in the building. TNT Cycles PDX is in the building. What else we got going on here? David S is in the building. Thanks for coming through, guys, showing love. Appreciate you. Tough stories today. Tough stories. I'm gonna be working night shift for the next 2 days, and then I got forced overtime on my day off, which is Monday. So I was like, let me bring in a morning show so you guys can have something to listen to on a replay at the very least. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I will chop the show up though. I think the three stories I covered rather are like kind of separate stories, and I want to make them searchable for people who are looking for each individual story. And I think each one of them are very tragic, and they deserve their own video so people can digest it and really think about it. So let's pray for this victim of domestic violence. Let's pray for her family. Let's pray for this former officer who lost his life senselessly. Just another instance of, just senseless black on black crime. It is what it is. Whether you want to hear it or not, it's a reality. And let's pray for this homeless lady that she can find the help that she needs so that she can get off of the streets. And let's pray for this art owner that he could get a little humility. I sympathize with him, but he lacks humility. And on that note, I'll be seeing you guys on the next one. You guys be well. You guys be safe. You guys continue to be the amazing audience that you are. Make sure to like the channel. Please make sure that you share with your friends and family. And lastly, if you could support the channel, consider becoming a Strategic Guys member. We do need more members. We do need more support. And hey, we'll be here as long as you're here. Anyway, like, subscribe on the Strategic is out of here. And even though you can't see me because we have camera problems, I'm throwing that legendary peace sign up. See you later.